A very warm welcome. And this is, of course, Masti Media Network. And my name is Renuka, and I welcome you to this very special show that I have been talking about on our platform. Not only me, but a lot of us have been talking about the montage of Singapore. So, well, for those of you who don't know me, and I wonder why, well, I am the director and the founder of Masti Media Network, and I'm proud to present a whole new show which is here just for you and just for us. Well, you and I have been a part of Singapore in many ways. We are residents of Singapore, whether we are Singaporeans, we are the local Singaporeans, or the expats who have formed the very base of Singapore, or we are from another world just for a little bit in Singapore, transiting. But we've made Singapore our home, nevertheless. Well, I came to Singapore many years ago. I would say it's more than 2 decades now. And I am today a naturalized citizen of this beautiful country. So, what makes it beautiful? Well, Singapore was always clean. It was always amazing when it came to the first time anyone visits this country. We feel like, wow, we are in another world. But when you make it your home, you look around and you wonder what makes it extra special. Well, what makes it special is the multicultural environment. What makes it special is you and I. What makes it special is the diversity, which so beautifully creates the montage of Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud today to bring to you the montage of Singapore, a show which is specially curated by Masti Media Network, supported by the National Integration Council, and it's going to bring you Singapore stories, stories which are real. 13 such stories which come from different facets, which create and make the beautiful montage that Singapore is. So, well, who's going to be here today? I have a very, very special guest, and we're going to meet her in just a little bit. Stay tuned.
Or straight away three.
All right, and welcome. I would like to, of course, welcome my very, very special guest to the studio today. Miss Sim, welcome to Masti Media Network and welcome to the Montage of Singapore.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, this is our pleasure. And we could not think of having anyone else but you for the inaugural episode because of an amazing, amazing profile that I've been reading about you. So, well, for those of you who don't know, Ms. Sim is the executive director of the Singapore Hospice Council. And at the same time, she has held some amazing posts in the past. And of course, currently, I would say she's been a community leader for over 16 years.
Yes.
Miss Sim, let me ask you a question. So, throughout your period of being a community leader, you must have interacted with, with many communities, a large number of people. So, tell me how Singapore has changed over the past many years.
Well, I started out as a community leader about 15, 20 years ago. I think at that juncture, the social fabric is a little bit different.
Uh-huh.
And over the years, we have seen influx of immigrants, new immigrants,
Right.
bringing with it the diversity of, the Singapore society. So economically, a lot of us have also done better. Standards of living are higher. Hygiene, cleanliness are all better.
That's true.
I think we are not the same as 20 years ago or 40 years or 60 years ago. And I'm sure it will still be different 20 years later.
That's the beauty of Singapore, isn't
Yes.
it? That it does not remain the same ever. No 2 days are the same. I tell you, when I came to Singapore, of course, we didn't have the iconic Marina Bay Sands, which is the first thing that always comes to mind whenever anyone visits today. They look at the beautiful skyline, well, which is right here. But at the same time, the way it has evolved while we have retained our heritage, that's the beauty of Singapore, don't you think?
Yes, I think in the course of my work and in the course of my community service,
Right.
I've come across really the historical part, of Chinese clan associations that are close to 180 years this year. Then I'm associating also with societies, new societies as well, from the Indian community as well, religious groups. And if you were to look at MBS, right across that is actually what we call Clifford Pier.
Yes.
And that is where the first immigrants actually arrived in
Oh.
Singapore.
Oh.
So if you look at, excuse me, I've lost my voice, so trying to speak clearer. If you look at the Marina Bay area, you actually see the great juxtaposition between the very modern, iconic MBS, the whole pier area. The floating stage was
Yes.
never there, but Clifford Pier is still there. Yeah, so you actually see the very old and the very new.
That's amazing. And such a small country. You know, when it came to looking and comparing with the other parts of the world, we think, oh, it's just a little red dot. But think of it. What is it that doesn't exist here? You know, there's the beauty of the heritage, there's the beauty of the culture, it's the beauty of various races living together, celebrating all the festivals that I can ever imagine. In fact, there are some of these festivals that I had never heard of before, of course, moving to Singapore, right? So tell me, if you were to introduce yourself today to us, to our audience, in a fun way, how would you do that?
I'm a professional generalist.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I'm not a lawyer,
Right.
but I can read legal documents.
Okay.
I'm not a certified public accountant, but I can do budgeting and
Wow.
check numbers and check whether I have enough money. I'm not a social worker, but I serve the community, working with some of the very vulnerable groups. So I'm not an entertainer, but I do, befriend seniors and talk to them and just sort of bring a little bit of lightness to their daily life. So I'm sort of a jack of all trades.
Oh, wow. I would say she's a specialized generalist.
Yes.
Yeah, who has actually gone through so many facets of life in terms of course, bearing the very important offices, which I've seen that Miss Sim has actually, you've led some very amazing positions. And at the same time, you've been very close to the community. And you have, at the same time, of course, led Singapore to a whole new level when it comes to leading the community. And you've been a honorable recipient of the awards as well for that.
Yes, I mean, we served not with the awards in mind,
Right.
But each of us who are conferred the National Day Awards is representative of the community whom we serve and the communities whom we lead.
Absolutely.
So it is not always, it's never a single person's award. It is really a team,
Yes.
And it's in recognition of that. Yeah, and one of the most amazing tasks that I did, very meaningful, was the relocation of Dakota Crescent, where we moved the entire zone over to a single block within Mountbatten itself. So yeah.
I'm going to stop you there. Because we're going to be talking about the community champions.
Yes.
And yes, that is where I want you to share much more about that. But first, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to talk about the joy of Singapore. What is it that makes Singapore so happy for each one of us that when we move here, we refuse to go back to our countries? Well, many of us do. And I'm telling you, I'm a living example of that. So let's take a short break here and we'll be back with the special segment, which is called The Joy of Singapore, which is actually a rapid fire round. Let's see how Miss Sim, in her very calm behavior, is going to be answering that. Stay tuned. All right. So we are going to now get into this very special segment where I have these cards with me. And these cards have very special questions. Miss Sim doesn't know what I'm going to ask her today. So why don't we do this? I will let you pick a card.
Okay. First prize.
Well, yeah, absolutely. The first prize is yours and everything. All right. Now, this is a very interesting question. It talks about the festivals. Let me ask you, you've been close to the community in many ways. So is there a festival which you feel, I wish it was a part of my community, and I wish I was born celebrating this festival because these guys are having so much fun when they're doing this, right?
Well, I mean, for me, I think a very close festival that's very close to my heart is really Holy Mela.
Wow.
Yeah, I started organizing this with the societies, with the
Uh-huh.
Indian societies, many years back. And through it, I got to understand the meaning of colors.
Mhm.
I also got to, see at close up, because I think for Chinese, we are a little bit more conservative.
Controlled.
Yes, and kind of, we don't let people touch our faces. But when I first did the festival and meeting the society leaders on that actual day itself,
Yes.
and they were coloring me, on my face in the most gentle way, knowing that I, different culture. Yeah, and through the years, it has gotten more and more exciting,
Absolutely.
with water guns and providing the water, the powder, and each society doing something of their own.
Yes.
When you come, when you see the community come together, to just celebrate and just let your hair down. Well, I've learned a few hacks. Getting a plastic sheet on my car seat before I go home, putting my phone into a
Hacks.
waterproof pouch. These are
Yes.
little things, but it is really the community coming together
Yeah.
that has made it a very impactful festival for me.
Absolutely. And I agree. Holi is a wonderful, wonderful festival. So there was a time when I used to hate it because, uh, it takes a lot of time later. So it's not about going for Holi is the easiest thing you can do. You can just put some oil, whatever, some creams, and then you just go and play. But after you come back, it takes you hours to take that off, especially for a person like me who doesn't stop at just dry colors, goes on with everything that I see over there. So it's kind of, but I love it too. So, wow. Okay, time for one more question. And therefore, I'm going to let you pick one more.
Okay.
Okay.
Second prize. Second prize.
Second prize goes to you
Second
as
prize.
well. Okay. Let's see. Oh, my favorite question. So, if you were to leave Singapore, and ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are listening as well, because I'm going to ask you a question in just a little bit. So, if you were to leave Singapore, what is it that you would miss the most? And what is it that you would miss the least?
Well, I would miss the most is that sense of security.
Uh-huh.
When if you take a flight and land in Singapore, the feeling is very different.
Right.
And I'll miss that sense of security. You travel, you tend to be a little bit more tense. You tend to watch your back a little bit. Well, in Singapore, you could just leave your back there, kind. So that's something that I will miss. Of course, the food. I think in Singapore is a food paradise.
Totally.
Yeah. So when I come back to Changi Airport, I will look for local food. So those are the things that I will miss. The list that I will miss, my work. Well, if you travel to enjoy,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you relax, and and yeah, I wouldn't miss my work.
Right.
Yeah.
You are so right. So just a few points that come
Mm.
to my mind, right? So about security of
Mm.
Singapore. So it has actually spoiled us completely. I know of people who went on holidays, they forgot to lock their houses,
Yes.
and they came back and everything was fine. I cannot believe that happens in many other parts of the world, right? It just ruins us. And it also makes us, totally ignorant of the other parts of the
We
world.
are
Because
easy
when we
targets.
go, yeah, we
We are
are.
easy targets. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something that we need to learn,
Yeah.
that things that, Singapore makes us take for granted is not really what happens in the other
Yeah.
parts of the world,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, when it comes to work, let me ask you a very simple question. Do you think Singaporeans are always overworked or stressed? Do you think so?
Well, I can't speak for everyone,
Uh-huh.
but I think after COVID, I think things have gotten much better. I think people are now more focused on work-life balance.
Right.
And with COVID and everyone knowing that you can work anywhere
Right.
as long as you can hook up, to Wi-Fi, I think it has changed the landscape a bit. Um, but I think the level of stress is always there. Stress is sometimes not a bad thing either. If
Totally.
you look at it very positively, it drives you harder. it drives you to achieve excellence is a little bit different. I suppose it's just us having to be mentally more robust, to be able to take on any stress that come our way, and that we are able to, get past that.
Well said. Oh my God. I'm telling you, today I'm feeling like I have these pearls of wisdom which are coming my way, and that too on my amazing show that I always wanted to curate. And you know what? This is called Montage of Singapore. But we'll take a little bit here, and I want to also say a quick hi to our audience who are sending us the messages here. So let's see their messages flashed right now. I see Sapna saying hello, Renuka. All right. Hi, Sapna ji. And then, of course, there's Mahesh who's saying great concept. All right. Of course, I think, Mahesh, it's very important for us to realize that Singapore, as a multicultural country, it provides us the opportunity to really come together and talk to each other and make friends across communities. But how many of us really take advantage of that? Because when I look back my 20 years, I hate to say that I have not made many friends from the local scenario. I know a lot of people, but have I really come together in, an environment where I would say that, yes, these are my closest friends? I haven't done that. And I know many people who haven't. So now, in fact, when I was curating this show, believe it or not, Miss Sim, I was making a very, very honest effort to go out there and start working very closely and building those relationships. So it's a change. Um, Anuritha says we all love playing Holi. Of course we do. And of course, there's Ruchika who says, hi, Renuka. Hi, everybody. And of course, there's something for the audience as well. So stay tuned. But right now, we're going to get into a very special section which tells us that as a community, what exactly are we going to give back to the society? It is not just about ourselves, it's about how we build the community and the montage of Singapore. Let's take a break, coming back with Community Champions.
Make sure you add Masti to your lives. Download the app today and stay energized and connected on the go. Radio Masti 24/7 Live, Singapore's only Bollywood radio since 2009. Oh yeah.
All right, and welcome back. What we're doing at the moment is, of course, talking to Miss Sim, who is right here, our guest in the studios. And she is, well, been working very closely with different communities. And she was just talking about the Dakota and the fire near Mountbatten. Well, let's talk about that. I really want to know more about this.
Okay, we had a cluster of rental flats in
Yes.
Dakota Crescent, and these are very old, in the 1960s flats, and the whole community, we had to relocate them to another rental block within Mountbatten. So the community came together, and we had people raising funds, we had people doing logistics, we had people just befriending the residents, knowing what each household needed. So some of them are staying alone, aged. Not all are welfare cases, but to move a community out of a space that they have been there for 30 years, it takes a lot of persuasion, and it takes a lot of conversation as well, because they're most reluctant to move. Some of it are their marriage homes, their family home, and to just move is really uprooting everyone.
Right, of course.
So the community came together. So we in fact had those who are doing better to fund one household about $660 each to just get things like shower head, the bed, the simple furniture, plates and bowls for them to just move over. So that was a huge exercise. It took us 2 years, 2 to 3 years by the time they move. And now we're still continuing this engagement. We have a community dinner there every night,
wow.
every Monday night. Every Monday night, that's when the volunteers will be there. We get to know how they are. If they need help, they would talk to us, and then we can direct them to the agencies. So that's one part, one big project that I totally enjoyed. It was really the community coming together to help the community. And I think for the young volunteers, even fixing up the fan for the families and all that made a lot of difference to everyone. It was a learning process for all of us.
Absolutely. So how what would be the easiest way? Okay, so there are people like myself who've relocated from another country. We take time to adjust, we take time to settle down, we have our work, we have our family. So there's a lot to be done. And the environment is very new for us, right? So there are lots of people out there who relocate. So if I were to ask you, what is the simplest and the easiest way that people like us can start contributing towards community and, just kind of extending a hand, what would you say?
Well, there are two ways really. One is really look up for all the charities in Singapore. There are a lot of them, and everyone needs a pair of hands, right?
Right.
Be it a food charity, be it like where I'm working, Singapore Hospice Council, we need multipliers. We need people to understand what is palliative care and be our ambassadors. And of course, the community where you stay, being a voice there, improving the environment, keeping a lookout. So we do have citizens on patrol that is with the police. And the residents just patrol the streets to just make sure that it's safe.
Yeah.
We do have, Green Action Committee that looks at sustainable solutions, green projects. So there's something for everyone, regardless of age. So we have the youth group, we have the women's, we have the senior citizens, we have the active aging. There's bound to be something for someone.
Of course.
So just make that first step. So you can always start off very small. Like, for example, we do have Deepavali celebrations. So something that is very familiar to you as an ethnic group, and you can step forward to help to arrange celebration for Deepavali and all that. So just make the phone call, drop the email. You will be able to serve somewhere that is close to your heart.
Fantastic. So while Singapore does provide a lot of opportunities, as they say, to people who want to contribute and be a part of this beautiful community to build, as I keep saying, the montage of Singapore. We'll take a short break, but this is the time when we're going to focus on the audience and a question for you guys, which is going to get you something, a big surprise coming in just for you. So stay tuned. All right, in the audience section, what's really going to happen is there is a trivia, a question that I have for you that I'm going to be asking you. And if you send us the answers very quickly, well, of course, as I said, there's going to be an amazing surprise that you will totally enjoy. So let's see the question, guys. It's going to be right on your screens right now. What is the name of the hawker center in Singapore that was awarded a Michelin star in 2016? What is the name of the hawker center in Singapore which was awarded a Michelin star in 2016? Is it the Bedok South Market and Food Center? Is it the Jalan Benan Kapal Hawker Center? Is it Mizzy Corner Nasi Lemak? Or is it Hill Street Thai Hua Pork Noodle? Now, you just have to tell me the answer. Of course, not right now. If you know right now, fantastic. Just type it there. If you do not, then you have to send it through to us. And this is through the app, Radio Masti 24/7. Choose sending an email or choose sending a WhatsApp, a message, anything that you want. And of course, as I said, there's a lovely surprise lined up. Well, on that note, there's also some other messages that we have. So let's quickly go through them. Sapna says that she's made some amazing friends from different cultures and she loves it. Of course, she's born and bred in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, or did she relocate? I'm not sure. Well, our kids have done so, and they have completely settled in Singapore. Yes, they have. That is true. And of course, there are others who are saying hello to you and me. Miss Sim, would you like to say a quick hello?
Hi, everyone.
All right. Well, on that note, I think it is time for us, because this is supposed to be not a very long show, but this is supposed to be a show that takes you through memory lanes and tells you exactly what the community is all about in Singapore. Well, on that note, I do want to, of course, thank Miss Sim, and I also want to request her to say some words for our audience and about the community and, of course, about Montage of Singapore.
Okay. Being a part of Singapore has always been very colorful, multiracial. Just be open about it, and I'm sure you will really enjoy Singapore for its food, the people, the city itself. Yeah. Thank you for having me here.
Of course, thank you so much. And what do you think about our Montage of Singapore, the show?
Well, it is interesting because bring different people
Yes.
to really share. And I think then there's a better sharing and not touch and go. So this is actually what the media is the media plays a very key role in really maintaining the strength of the social fabric in Singapore.
That is
With
true.
all the noise on social media, we do need credible media out there to really point out what is the obvious and what is really important and the priorities.
That is
Yeah.
beautifully said. Thank you so much, Miss Sim, for being on our show. And this is,
Oh,
well, I would say a small gesture from us,
thank
but the
you.
beautiful skyline of Singapore, which
Yes,
has been
yes.
captured exclusively for you. And this is coming as the first print of this photograph, which has
Thank
been
you.
taken by Nine Studios, just
Thank
for
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
so much.
Yes.
Thank you. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to conclude that Singapore and the Montage of Singapore, this is a very exclusive show that is yet to bring another 12 episodes and 12 stories, which will feature the residents. Now, today, of course, I do not like to categorize people as, local Singaporean Chinese, or it is local Indians, or Tamil speaking, or Malays, or I just like to call everyone Singaporeans. And I like to call everyone a resident of this beautiful country. So, well, you are going to see stories. And as I said, if we are to categorize, well, the next story is going to be of someone very special. I am going to be again going back once more to Miss Sim to introduce our guest who's going to be featuring on the next segment. Miss Sim, before you go, if you could do the honors.
He's a I've known him for several years, a good friend of mine, very charismatic, very focused, very committed leader. And I'm sure listeners will benefit from his sharing.
And that's all we are going to tell you guys today because, well, he is amazing. He is charismatic. He is a naturalized citizen of Singapore, and he is someone all of us know very well. Well, without telling you more than that, you will enjoy that episode same time on Sunday next week. It is going to be 6 p.m. Singapore time. But before I go, I just want to say one thing, that the Montage of Singapore is curating. Slowly, it's building up. The tiles are coming together and forming the beautiful map of Singapore. But at the same time, what's important? If you and I are individuals, we are just the drop of water. But when we are together, we are the ocean. So remember that. With that thought, I'm going to let you go this weekend. Have a fantastic rest of the evening. It's been a pleasure just connecting with you on the Montage of Singapore. If you want to watch this show, of course, the best way to do that is downloading Radio Masti 24/7 and going under the Masti AVI section and watching it again and again. Till we meet again, it's goodbye from the sets of Montage of Singapore. Stay well and stay healthy.